Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 21st Dare County Board of Commissioners meeting. At this time, I'd like to call forward the Reverend Wayne Berry for an invocation. Reverend, it's a pleasure to have you back in person instead of this virtual stuff. It's a couple of meetings now. We've been able to do this in person. It's refreshing to be able to do that again, isn't it? So thank you.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Let us pray. God of wind and tide, God of summer rains and summer solstice, God of July 4th and June 19th, God of loving kindness and mercy, God of all people. Thank you for the ongoing relief from the ill effects of the COVID virus. Thank you for the ingenuity of scientists, the dedication of production line workers and deliverers of the vaccine. Thank you for the exceptional efforts of health providers and volunteers who worked with such commitment and dedication to distribute vaccinations. Thank you for the first responders and hospitalists that attended to and cared for those struck down with the virus. Thank you for the pastors and ministers who prayed with and prayed for those who were in no position to do anything but pray. And thank you for these dedicated and faithful commissioners who oversaw a magnificently coordinated relief effort here in Dare County. On this first day of summer, let us all open our hearts to the new, the warm, the fresh, the refreshing. Let us open our doors and our businesses to family, friends, and vacationers visiting with us now and in the weeks ahead. Let us open our minds to new ways of thinking, working together, and being your love in the world. Let us open our hearts to our most impoverished and needy neighbors. Oh God, in your extensive power to heal and restore, please restore our community to health in all of its forms, physical, emotional, economic, and social. Deliver us from all division that still exists across political lines, racial lines, ethnic lines, and lines of economic disparity. You can do this if we people realize that you are the only one that can do this. Your restoring us to health and balance depends on our efforts to do your will. In our rush to get even further out of doors, help us to look and make sure that no one is in our way. In our hurry to make up for lost time, lost wages, lost income, or lost opportunity, remind us to be kind, patient, honest, and fair. In our excitement to get into the surf or onto the pier, to get to our favorite fishing spot or catch the big wave, make us mindful of others who are looking to have a thrill as well. In our wait online at the restaurant, open our eyes to notice that there are others waiting as well. In our frustration at the traffic on the bypass or Route 12 to Corolla or Hatteras or Collington Road, help us to remember that this too shall pass. Give us patience and goodwill in mega doses, please. Loving God, be with those who are still slowed by COVID's continuing presence. Be with those who will be lost to COVID's ravages, and with the loved ones left behind. Be with our citizen presenters here tonight, striving to make their needs known in the most civil manner possible. Be with the civil servants who serve us and will execute the plans made by our commissioners. And finally, be with our commissioners, who, while elected by us to do our will, must give their utmost respect and effort to consider your will as you inspire all of us to make ever more beautiful the creation you have entrusted to us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. May we stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are joined this evening at the board meeting by Commissioner House via Zoom, and Commissioner Ross is not able to be with us. He has an excused absence from the meeting. With that being said, I'll turn the agenda back over to the county manager.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Item 1 on the agenda is the Chairman's opening remarks.
Thank you, County Manager. Before I begin, I just have two short notes to bring to your attention. I want to make sure Commissioner House can hear us. Commissioner House, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Thank you. Yesterday, everybody remembers what yesterday was. I know everybody at this dais certainly does, and that's Father's Day. I just hope each and every father that is out there listening to our meeting today had a wonderful Father's Day. Unlike last year, I'm sure they were able to be with their family and their loved ones and to celebrate together. So just thank you, all the fathers out there, for what you do and being role models. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is September the 6th, 2019. I'm sure Commissioner Bateman remembers this one quite well, and that's the Outer Banks was hit by Hurricane Dorian, since he's on the causeway. September the 16th, this board passed a resolution asking the Dominion Power to replace the wooden utility poles with underground steel or concrete power poles along the Manio-Nags Head Causeway, which that wasn't the first time, was it, Commissioner Bateman?
No, sir.
And we're fortunate. Dominion North Carolina Power listened to us. If you've come across the causeway recently, many of the wooden poles along the Manio-Nags Head Causeway snapped, causing power outages throughout the entire area. And Dominion Power began to repair to restore the power as soon as they possibly could. These poles deliver power to the mainland, county, and the Roanoke Island, and they had repeatedly, as I said earlier, been broken or damaged during prior storms, including Hurricane Michael, Matthew, Irene, and Dorian. On September the 16th, as I mentioned earlier, the board adopted a resolution to request a replacement of the wooden poles with underground steel or concrete poles along the causeway to provide Dare County citizens with a lower risk of interrupted electrical service in the event, certainly, of heavy winds or storms in the future. Well, Dominion North Carolina Power listened. Here's a update. They began the Nags Head Manio project in September of 2020 and recently completed the project June the 7th, just short while ago of this year. This upgrade will reduce and mitigate future electric distribution impacts to the homes and businesses along Nags Head's Causeway in Manio, Roanoke Island, with respects to storms. So I want to personally, on behalf of this board, certainly reach out to Dominion, North Carolina, and express our sincere appreciation for moving so quickly. It was just 10 days after that Dorian that we wrote the resolution, sent it to them, and they acted upon that immediately. So hats off to Dominion, North Carolina. Really appreciate what they've done. County Manager, that completes the chairman's comments for this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, that brings us to item 2 on the agenda, and that is the Employee of the Month. And as you know, we had stopped during COVID having the Employee of the Month because of social distancing and getting people in and doing the things. And we're finally getting back to more normal, and so we're going to start doing it in person again and recognizing our employees who exemplify the work ethic and the things that we value in the county. For our first post-COVID-19 Employee of the Month, it's very much appropriate to have a person who represents and epitomizes all of our employees, all of their hard work, their dedication, their selflessness, their caring every day, especially during COVID, but all to keep everything going, provide all of our services, and not miss a beat no matter what the obstacles are. Our Employee of the Month has been with Dare County since 2014, though she served a previous stint from 2007 to 2011. If she hasn't figured it out now, she's sitting back in the back, and I'll ask her to please come up to the front with me.
Surprise.
So as you all know, and for the public, this is Dr. Sheila Davis, our Health Director and our Director of Health and Human Services. As I said before, she's worked with us in 2 stints. Back in 2007 and 2011, Sheila worked for us as a community development specialist. And her people skills and communicational skills and organizational skills were apparent then as they are now in all that she did then and as they're apparent in all that she does now. In 2014, Sheila saw the errors of her ways and came back to work for the county as our health director. And since then, she has worked as the health director until 2018 when our director of our Health and Human Services Department retired. And she was promoted to that position. She was the logical, the easy, the right transition for that department and for those departments. And in that transition, she became the leader and managed both the Department of Social Services as well as the Health Department, and continued as the Health Director as well, and has continued in that role since 2018. Needless to say, Sheila has excelled in that role. Sheila's service during COVID is an example of leadership, knowledge, commitment, and compassion, and those are the same things that she brought to work before COVID and brings to work every day since and during COVID. During the COVID crisis, she and her staff worked 24/7, 365. People use that term to say they worked hard. I'm using that term literally because that is actually what occurred. They worked without days off to manage the crisis according to all the rules, the regulations, the executive orders, the CDC guidelines, the North Carolina Department of Health and Service guidelines, and above all, she informed the public and remained committed to preserving the public health throughout all of that conflicting information. She worked tirelessly to stay informed, to inform both our decision makers and the public with the most up-to-date information available so that all could make appropriate decisions. In the ever-changing world of COVID, that was not an easy task. She's taken her fair share of criticism, but through it all, she's held her chin high with the confidence and the knowledge that her actions saved lives and reduced the outbreak of COVID in Dare County, making positive impacts to the people of Dare County. Through it all, she's not wavered in her commitment to preserve the public's health. If you visited one of our vaccine clinics, you found an example for the rest of the state on how to organize and operate a clinic efficiently and compassionately. The clinic and our COVID response are but two of the many examples of Sheila's tireless dedication, commitment, and compassion for the health of our citizens, and reflect her work ethic, her skill, and her professionalism that she exhibits every day. Sheila, you're our July Employee of the Month. We thank you for your hard work and your dedication and your compassion for the people of Dare County, and can't commend you enough for your efforts. This is for your desk, and this is for you. And
Very much.
thank you. And
I'll give you a hug.
you can. and when I finish, that's Employee of the Month, but the board will also recognize
Floor is yours, Sheila.
I really can only accept this on the behalf of the entire DHHS team and emergency management and EMS. I mean, I appreciate having the opportunity to be the leader, but I'm just one of such an amazing army that we have in Dare County who cares just as deeply as I do. So thank you.
Don't go anywhere, Sheila. This past year and 3 months have been really incredibly challenging for all of us here in Dare County due to COVID-19. Personally, my mother's at Spring Arbor. I wasn't able to see her and I'd see her every single day. So 95 years old. It's very difficult, very, very difficult. So it's been challenging for all of us, so what we've been through. It was contracted by about 2,200 residents in Dare County, and unfortunately it claimed about 15 lives here in Dare County. But despite all of those difficulties we faced, we're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and it was a dark tunnel at time. And we're beginning to step out on the other side of this pandemic. I think everyone can agree that I wouldn't be able to stand here this evening without truly incredible work on your part, Sheila, and the services from yourself, your health department, and under your leadership since March of 2020. When Governor Roy Cooper first declared a state of emergency in North Carolina, Dr. Davies has worked tirelessly on the front lines of the pandemic, providing critical information, guidance, resources, and services for everyone in our community. We held weekly meetings with the mayors. Sheila was on those meetings. The last count was 73, 74 meetings. It was incredible. We did that weekly. And we got immediate updates from Dr. Davies and what was going on in the county, and some of the things that we had to make some difficult decisions in the beginning. And I share some of those same criticisms that Dr. Davies had, because trust me, what was chewed out for closing the county for about 60 days. So we got something in common, don't we, Sheila? This transparency and communication kept people informed about the current state of the COVID in Dare. It also reassured residents and visitors that the county was on top of the situation. And I can attest to that by those weekly phone calls. I can also attest to it. I tried not to call Sheila other than outside of our meetings, but occasionally I had to do it. And immediately she would answer the phone and she would respond to the questions that I had so that I would be able to respond to the public. And for that, I'm very, very grateful, Sheila. Her and her team were willing to address any situation that came before them. Dr. Davies was also instrumental in coordinating the outreach, not just within Dare County departments here for the county, but decision makers all throughout the county. The towns, the mayors, the hospital, medical providers, local businesses, restaurants, local schools, our teachers, parents, nonprofits, and you know the list goes on and on. Her performance during the pandemic has far exceeded her job description and required responsibilities. And if you ask her, she would say, "Bob, I'm just doing my job." Well, Sheila, you did more than just your job. She was always available. She answered questions on the phone, including any time, day or night, respects to me as well as many others. And she's gone above and beyond the services she's provided the entire county. And because of that expertise, professionalism, commitment, and the role she has played during the pandemic, we sit here, right here, this evening, with leaps and bounds above where we were certainly last year at this time. We also leaps and bounds above other counties throughout the entire state. At one time, we were number one. I think we've pardon? We're number two now. But at one time, we were one. But we're number two now with respects to vaccines and getting it out. Dare County is a leader in the state of North Carolina in terms of the percentages of our population. We've done almost 21,000 individuals. That's 57% of our year-round residents have been partially vaccinated. 60% have been fully vaccinated. In fact, Dr. Davies and her team have done so much phenomenal job doing COVID-19 here in Dare County that Governor Cooper came down. I was able to meet with him along with the rest of the board, came down, he visited the site, and hands down, he couldn't believe his eyes how smooth it was. I mean, you'd park your car, you'd walk up to the door, the sheriff would greet you, they'd show you where to go, they'd register to get in, then you'd sit for a minute, and then next thing you know, you're getting your shot. Then after your shot, you're sitting for 15 minutes, and the paramedics are there watching just to see if everything's okay. And then you're going. And nothing could have gone any smoother. And all that time, Dr. Davies is there answering phones, answering phone calls, doing her emails, not only just COVID, but other issues that the health department had. If there's one person for Dare County who deserves to be recognized, you know, certainly for the past year and the months we've experienced, and it's you, Sheila, no question about it. And on behalf of my board, I want to thank you for doing the job that you did during the pandemic and for your support of our residents. And we've got a certificate of appreciation here from the board. It says, in grateful recognition of her exemplary service, tireless dedication to Dare County during the unprecedented challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic, this exceptional leadership and guidance Dr. Davies has provided is unparalleled and has made it possible for county officials, healthcare professionals, local educators, child care providers, and area business owners to successfully navigate this uncharted territory and to ultimately overcome the many difficulties that our community has faced during this pandemic. And the Dare County Board of Commissioners salutes you, Dr. Davies, for your incredible service to Dare County, and we'd like to present you with this. I guess appreciate it. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Put it down.
Mary Helen, you.
Yeah, he's called shot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Sheila.
Again, thank you all so much, and I'm really accepting this on behalf of our team. It's certainly not a year that a year and a half that I hope to relive at any point in my career. The pandemic has affected every single person in different ways. And thanks to you all and your leadership, and Bobby and his leadership, you all gave us the latitude to do what we needed to do, to use our professionalism and our expertise and our relationships with the staff and the state and the leadership that they provided us to get done what needed to be done without impediments, without hesitation. And it, without a doubt, made a difference in the lives of folks living and visiting Dare County. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that brings us to item 3 on the agenda, and that's public comment. Ladies and gentlemen, now's the time that's been set aside for public comment. If you have public comment this evening and you've not signed up, I'll call on you in a moment and you can come to the podium. When you come to the podium, please limit your comments to 5 minutes. There's a green light that will come on when your time begins. There's a yellow light that comes on when there's about a minute left. There's a red light that will come on when your time is up. When your time is up, please conclude your remarks so that others can speak as well. There's a second public hearing on here with regard to Chapter 160D amendments. If you're here to speak on that, please wait until that public hearing. We'll do this again at that time, but the public hearing we're having now is for anything else that you have comments on. With that said, the first person that I have signed up on my list is C.W. Basquette.
Welcome this evening, Mr. Basquette.
Welcome. This is my first trip to the Commissioner's office. I'm a resident of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, Kurt Basquette. I live at 3605 Rabbit Hollow. For you that are not familiar, that's the small area between the Bypass Road and Rabbit Hollow, Ascension Drive, and West Tateway. It's almost at the Kill Devil Hills line. I'm here tonight to ask for your support and help. For almost 30 years, we've been fighting periodic flooding problems in our area. It's mainly our flooding problem has to do with rainwater. It's not from ocean overwash. For 30 years, when we started these problems, the problem persisted all the way from all across the ocean front in Kitty Hawk, especially between the Beach Road and the Bypass Road. Our area is just to the west of the Bypass Road, but it was all connected. Over those years, we worked with the town of Kitty Hawk, tried to solve problems when flooding occurred, tried to get waters out so people could be relieved of the flooding issues. It got to such an extent that a number of years ago, Senator Bass Knight visited the area, I think with the commissioners, came down, looked at it and said these areas something needs to be done. The state needs to support it and find a way to do it. A lot of these things, there were plans developed for each of the areas of what can be done engineering-wise to relieve the areas of flooding. A lot of those have been, all of them have been rectified except for our area. Pumping systems have been put in so that when the areas flood and the roads are covered, waters can be pumped out, people relieved of the flooding problem. Our area is kind of particular, it's different. We were in part of that whole big flood basin for years. Then one year when a major flooding took place, one of the homeowners, was in the lowest part of the area, flooded so bad that she got permission from the town to raise her property, put in a retaining wall, and fill it. Well, what that did is isolated us from all the other areas. And we're not adjacent to a road. We were, but we're not adjacent to a road now. So the rationale being used as far as allowing the pump, which is streets being jeopardized for emergency, doesn't apply to us strictly. But because that dam was put in, that retaining wall, we're not considered part of the road system. Therefore, the town has now said, the town had developed a plan just recently as a year ago to put a small pipe in connecting us to West Tateway, so only to be opened up in occasion when the streets were flooded and the water was being pumped out to the ocean. The rest of the time it was going to be closed. Probably one day a year or one day every occasion, okay? For some reason, one of the property owners decided they didn't like the idea and they threatened to sue the town. The town has now told us they're dropping the project. Don't know the reasons, ask for the reasons, I expect to get the reasons. My point here tonight is asking you to help us finish what Senator Bass and I started. I'd like to try to get your assistance in getting Senator Steinberg, your assistance in getting Representative Hainig down here to find if in some way the state can cooperate with the county and the town to find a way to fix this small problem, small in relative terms to everything else that's going on, pandemic. But it's a significant problem for us that are sitting with water right now in our houses, in our backyards, and rains predicted again for tomorrow. There's no way to get it out. We need to finish what we started. It's one little thing. I'm asking for your assistance to help us get those people here that can make those decisions, get grant money. Grant money was used before to fix the other ones. Something to fix this last problem. That's all I got to say. I look forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Basquette,
Thank
for
you.
bringing that to our
All right.
attention. I'm sure Commissioner Bateman can fill me in much
Very
greater
familiar
detail.
with it, very familiar.
Thank you.
So much.
Next, I have Amanda Myers.
Ms. Myers, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Alton. My name is Amanda Myers, and I'm a physical therapist with Dare Home Health and Dare Hospice. I'm not here today to talk about my feelings or concerns about the potential sale of the agency, as both the county manager and this board have already heard from myself and my coworkers about this. I am here to talk about, Mr. Alton, I'm going to borrow a few of your words. I'm here to talk about doing right by employees. Dare County has a policy that each employee is only allowed to keep 6 weeks of vacation time, and any time earned over that amount rolls into sick time. For 15 years, I've put my patients and the success of this agency above myself and my family. I have persevered through staffing shortages, and I have not been able to take much vacation time over the last 15 years because of a lack of coverage for my patients. Here's an example. Mr. Woodard, pretend you had a knee replacement and you were released from the hospital on a Thursday. And I came out to admit you for home health physical therapy the following day on Friday. And then I told you I would not be back for 10 days because I was going on vacation for a week. This would most likely lead to a bad outcome for you, and the surgeon would most likely be upset with our agency that we were not providing continuous therapy. I am not asking this board to be paid for sick time. I want to be paid for vacation time I earned over the last 15 years, but was unable to take. For years, I've been earning vacation time that I will not be compensated for. I ask this board tonight to make a motion for Dare County Human Resources to change this policy and compensate me and my coworkers for this time. There is only a handful of long-time staff at Dare Home Health and Hospice that this affects. I know Human Resources can calculate how much of my sick time is actually earned vacation time. Elizabeth provided me with the spreadsheets for this. For me, it's 171.385 hours. If you cannot change the policy, then I ask for special consideration for this unique situation. You are ending our jobs, taking away our health care and our retirement benefits. This is not our choice. The least you could do is pay us the vacation time we earned, but we're not allowed to take. If not, this is a warning to all Dare County employees out there. I hope you're listening. Take your vacation time as you earn it, because it may not be there for you when your job is taken away.
Thank you, Ms. Myers.
Next is George Carver.
Welcome this evening, Mr. Carver.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm George Carver. I'm a resident here in Dare County. I'm also the Executive Director at Dare Minority Coalition, and also I'm part of the Recovery Board here in Manio, and also a member of Manio Rotary and Department of Transportation. Today, I want to voice my opposition to propose to the Commissioners about a development maximum size of a new dwelling on parcel 025399000. That's actually my residence at 110 Scarborough Street. The proposal to rezone the property at 110 Scarborough Street equal or lesser square footage of the previous standing dwelling that was actually caught in fire in 2010 at the square footage of 1,334 square feet. The property in question to be rezoned is for a future dwelling and building permit at 110 Scarborough Street. On one hand, I'm not sure if you gentlemen received the information that I delivered, but as you can see on page 1, the square footage of the property in question is well over 8,000, close to 9,000 square feet. And the property that I want to actually use reference is actually 3 properties here in Manio. One of the properties is actually on 6,500 square feet. I don't want to use someone else's address, but it's highlighted for B. And also the square footage of the house on this dwelling is over 1,300 square feet. And property C, as well as was at 7,000 square feet with square footage of the dwelling over 1,000 square foot. And one of the last dwellings that I want to use is 6,000 square foot lots. And the finished dwelling on this property is 13.8 square feet. And I'm just asking for the maximum dwelling on this particular property of the previous dwelling that was actually tore down a few years back at 1,334 square feet. And actually the properties on the streets is actually named from this dwelling, which was one of the Scarboroughs that actually lived on this road, one of the oldest dwellings on this street. So I ask for you gentlemen to vote on having this parcel actually maximum dwelling size of the original dwelling of this property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carver.
That's all I have signed up. Does anyone else here would like to speak at public comment?
I signed up out there somewhere.
You signed up for the 160D.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong one.
Oh, you signed on the wrong one?
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Charlie Parker. I came to speak about home and hospice, but I would be neglectful if I didn't say something about our opening prayer. In there, it was mentioned about thanking all of our healthcare professionals. I've got to admit to you folks, in the beginning of the COVID scare and everything else, I was skeptical of the county and the county's health department. I have been wrong so many times in my life, and my friends will tell you all of the embarrassing ones. The most wrongful thing I ever had in my life was thinking those thoughts. I don't know of any organization in the United States that organized and implemented a vaccine program like our county did. And to Sheila and your co-workers, you got the big plaques and things from the big guns. All I can give you is the thanks of the community. Thank you. And then why I came. In regards to Dare Home and Hospice, we all willingly pay to educate our children about lives. We should all be willingly educate and help each other at death. All of us here I look at have gray hair, and we now look at the newspapers and read the obituaries. We're at that stage in life where, you know, this is kind of important. The county has the money to do the operation of home and hospice. If it's paying through the nose for nurses and everything else, we should do it. So my question is, do you as individuals want a for-profit company to make a business decision about your loved ones and your last days? That's what I would ask you gentlemen to think about when you vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight? Any other public comment? Is there any public comment from Buxton?
No comment from Buxton.
Okay, no comment from Buxton. That would lead us into item 4. Item 4 is also a public hearing. This is a public hearing with regard to Chapter 160D, which are amendments to our various ordinances. In just a minute, Donna's going to come up here and take you through this. The legislature last year adopted some rules that basically rewrote all of 160D. And 160D is the state statute that governs our ordinances and all of our plans and specifications and all those things that we do to plan for development and what Donna does just about every day. And for the last year, Donna and her staff have been working in the planning board to rewrite those ordinances, our ordinances, to comply with those new state statutes. And the amount of time that she spent and the time it's taken to do that is kind of unbelievable. It's a Herculean task. She brought me a notebook to review when she completed it. It's probably a couple inches thick. It has the rewrites. It has what changed, what didn't change, why she changed it, and all that. And so she's done a phenomenal job. And so in just a minute, and Donna, you can come on up, she's going to take you sort of through that. She's going to give you a better explanation than I just did. And when she completes her presentation, then we're going to go into the public hearing and hear from any of the public to see if there's any comments or concerns that they have. So with that, Donna, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Donna.
Good evening. What Mr. Outen didn't tell you is that he took that notebook home with him, and every time he started reading it, he would fall asleep at night. So he told me that he was working on it, and I told him that would cure whatever insomnia he may have. But as Mr. Outen said, the 160D is a complete rewrite of the land use ordinances for North Carolina, and so all local governments in North Carolina are having to do the same thing that the board is considering tonight. The changes affect 6 ordinances in the Dare County Code of Ordinances. It's Chapter 150, which is the airport ordinance, Chapter 151, which is the flood damage prevention ordinance, Chapter 152, the planning and development ordinance, Chapter 153, the subdivision ordinance, Chapter 158, signs, and Chapter 155, the zoning ordinance. And the zoning ordinance represents the bulk of the changes. One of the main things that is a result of this is that the General Assembly has said that instead of using all this variation of conditional use permit, special exception permit, that everything will be called a special use permit. So terminology that I've been using for 30 plus years, I'm going to have to get used to saying special use permit in substitution of conditional use permit, and going through the zoning ordinance, that terminology is used about 160 times. So most of the changes that are you considering tonight are those substitution type changes of wording. Some of the standards are a little bit more involved and more substantive. They do represent us writing into the ordinance the procedures that we use in my office on a daily basis, the administrative procedures, and then some of the procedures that the board does in terms of the quasi-judicial special use permits that we'll be hearing and how those decisions are made, how those notices are sent. And so we're putting that into the ordinance. There are some new sections that we're putting into the ordinance in terms of conflict of interest. The conflict of interest standards will now apply to the advisory boards as well as to my staff and myself when we make decisions that affect land use. We've updated the definition section, and some of the other standards for the Zoning Board of Adjustment are being pulled from Chapter 152 into the zoning ordinance because it makes it more it makes it easier for the general public to reference it in the zoning ordinance instead of referring back to another ordinance. And so I'm going to stop right there. If you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, we'll move forward to the public hearing. And it's always nice to hopefully have a public hearing and not have a lot of comments that I don't know if anyone's here tonight, but I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Donna. I'll ask the board if they have any questions of Donna. I know Vice Chairman has.
Donna, just one question,
Yes, sir.
and this is probably just a clarification.
Yes, sir.
thing. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the hard work you did in writing this document. It is quite lengthy. It took a while to read it, let's say, but thank you for your hard work on that. Under I think it was on page 13C, it was under the digital signs
Right.
part of it,
Yes, sir.
and it had a statement in there that said messages will not change more frequently than once every 60 minutes.
Right.
Now, normally when you see these digital signs, they are changing on a much faster rate than 60 minutes. Was that right?
Yes, sir. The intent of this was we had a request for someone to put up a huge video, what they were calling a digital sign, on a building that we felt would be very distracting to the general public as they're driving down our scenic byway on Hatteras Island. And so we wanted to put a standard in there that would preclude the video from changing on a frequent basis and being a distraction. And so we felt that an hour was the appropriate amount of time. Instead of trying to decide whether 5 minutes was too short or 10 minutes, we just went to the extreme on that.
So, but wasn't there something else in there about not being able to show moving a literal video? Things had to be static, right?
Yes, yes, sir. But so it's a static image, and if it changes every 60 minutes, it's not going to be a video that they're showing.
Okay, I got you. And none of this 160D stuff deals with the proposed legislation that we discussed one time about allowing add-ons to existing homes such as mother-in-law apartments, none of that?
No, sir.
Okay.
One of the changes is to delete the standards from the zoning ordinance that are our family housing incentive standards that have cumbersome income levels, and we've adopted standards in 2018 and 2019 for essential housing that are much more flexible than that family housing incentive standards. And so instead of there being a potential conflict between those two, I've recommended that we take out the family housing incentive standards and alleviate those cumbersome income levels and rely on what we did in 18 and 19 to take care of the essential housing.
Thank you, Don. I knew you'd do it right. I just, clarification.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would tell you, just as we're talking about those kinds of changes, for the most part, I would say 99% of this is stuff that was mandated
Yes.
by the legislature that we don't have any choice about. We got to do it whether we like it or not, whether we approve of it or not. That fight's been had, and it is what it is. On some of those things, like what she just talked about, we're trying to encapsulate what you all intended and making it fit under the guidelines that the new statutes require us to do. And so they've gone through and taken this opportunity to fix some of those things where we had conflicts and we knew we had conflicts. So there is some cleanup in it that we have. But I would say for the most part, other than what was mandated by the legislature, what you have if you approve this will be substantially the same thing that you have now. Is that a fair statement, Donna?
Yes, yes.
It'll be different terminology, maybe some different time limits, some different notice requirements. They've taken some authorities away from local governments and things like that, but for the most part, it'll be what we've been used to doing, even if we have to call it something different.
Thank you, County Manager. Anyone else? Jim?
I would like to thank Don. Reading through this, which was quite expensive to read through.
My pleasure.
I did have several questions that I called her about and asked her about, and we got the responses done, and I just want to thank you for all the work you've done on this. I know how much you've worked on it, and talking about you and Sheila both above and beyond this year, very good. Thank you.
This is what got me through COVID, so.
That's what got you through COVID. Donna, great work.
I got a question,
Commissioner
Donna.
Bateman.
And this just kind of piggybacks on what Wally says, and this is just my own personal information. The cat eyes on the electronic digital signs, are they limited by ordinance on how small they can be, which determines the brightness of the sign?
No, sir, and when Mr. Outen and I discussed, making any changes that I thought were closing up issues for us, that digital sign issue had come up in my office, and so I did not want to go in and completely tinker with the sign ordinance. So I just put some information in there that would address them because they were not addressed in the sign ordinance, and that being that the sign ordinance was written, I want to say, in 2003 before the industry adjusted and came up with all these LED flashing signs and billboards, and so it doesn't include very specific standards like that. I did research on it, and I tried to make it as easy to incorporate in there without it being a complete overwrite and getting into the minutia of the sign. So
That might be something that the planning board might want to look at, because they can be really, really bright.
yes,
Based on
yes,
those things.
yes, they can be.
They're distractive to drivers as well as a road hazard in some cases.
And that was why I went with the longer time period, just
Yeah.
trying to be simple and quick fix while we were doing this.
The sign ordinance being an example, in our old sign ordinance, we had when it was written, nobody ever thought about digital signs.
Yeah.
Nobody thought you'd have a digital billboard, or that somebody would want to show a movie on the side of a building to advertise, their operation. But we did have things in there that we required, no sandwich boards, no off-site signs, those kind of things to prevent distractions and for the public safety while they were driving. And so where today's world has changed from what our old ordinance was, we took this opportunity to make it fit with what the intent of what our ordinance already. We didn't create any new ordinances, but we made new things fit. And on that one, for example, that's one where we tried to make it fit. Maybe we didn't go far enough because I didn't think about it. Donna may have thought about the intensity level. We were thinking more about just the flashing, and especially with the size of what was proposed, was going to be a problematic. So we felt like we needed some regulations. These aren't etched in stone, except to the extent we're limited by what the legislature said. If we want to come back and we have a problem like that, then we can look at it, and you're saying we should look at it, so we'll get that on the planning board agenda for intensity and come back and talk to you about that after they've had a chance to look at it. But as we use this, we're going to find there may be other problems that we didn't anticipate, and so we'll probably have to come in over time and massage these things a little bit to make them fit like what you all want and what you all intend, given we've tried to do what you intend in the framework of what the legislature did. So again, I don't think this is the end of us having to talk about ordinances. Any other questions before I go to the public hearing?
Anyone else?
On the sign thing, I saw a video, just so you guys have a heads up, of a digital sign like you guys are talking about on a vessel driving up and down the beach in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Very obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
So beware.
Commissioner House, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to thank Donna again, just like everybody else. I know this is a long ordeal, and reading through it, and I would love to say it was a thrilling novel, but it's obviously not. And, but thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. County Manager?
With that, Mr. Chairman, now's the time that's been set aside for a public hearing. This public hearing is with regard to the amendments to Chapter 160D of the various ordinances of Dare County. If anyone would like to speak, the same rules that I just said with regard to public comment would apply here. Please limit your comments to this issue only. I don't have anyone signed up. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to that issue? Seeing no one here, is there anyone in Buxton that would like to speak to that issue?
No comment from Buxton.
With that, Mr. Chairman, we close the public hearing, and it's before the board for your action. I'll kind of correct me if I'm wrong. If it's not unanimous, we have to do it twice. Is that?
I don't remember seeing that in any of this.
All right, then that's fine. Okay.
All right, County Manager, I would ask what the pleasure of the board is.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the package of amendments to the Dare County Court of Ordinances be adopted as drafted by staff and recommended by the Planning Board.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, and I believe it was seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Since we've got Zoom in here and we can't raise hands or whatever, I'm going to ask the board to do this individually, yea or nay. So I will ask Commissioner Tobin.
Yay.
Commissioner House.
Yay.
Commissioner Couch.
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman.
Yay.
Vice Chairman Overman.
Yay.
And Chairman Woodard, yea.
That's it.
All those, that being said, it's a unanimous vote. Motion carries as presented.
Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Don. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that brings us to item 5, and this is the Dare County Home Health and Hospice. As you know, for multiple meetings, we've talked about this. We've talked about problems. We've talked about the concerns. We've heard the public comment. We've followed all the statutory guidelines. And so now we're at a point where we have negotiated a contract. You all have that before you. You've looked at it. There's a lot of detail in this, some more good reading for you. But I highlighted some of the things because in the start of this, when we began looking at this option, there were two things we said. One was we wanted to make sure that our service area was covered, and two, we wanted to do right by the employees, as Ms. Myers reminded us a few moments ago. And so as I go through that, that's what I'm going to focus on. A lot of the other stuff in there about escrows and closing documents and attachments for the lists of this and assets and so on, I'm glad to answer your questions. I'm not going to go through that in detail. That's pretty much self-explanatory. But it is important to know that we were able to accomplish what we said. When we started, we said we wanted to be sure that we covered our service areas throughout the county. And we wanted to be sure that we had a reversion of the certificate of need if that did not occur. And in that document in paragraph 2 and in paragraph 3, you'll find that it says just that they're going to cover our entire service area. And that in the event they fail to substantially do that, there's going to be a reversion of assets, which means it all comes back to us because of their breach. And so we've got all the assurances we can get because they're paying us $2.9 million for a certificate of need that we get back without having to give any of the money back if they don't do what they said they were going to do with respect to that issue. We said we wanted to try to do right by our employees, so we created a retention bonus. That's in here as well in paragraph 7. And we agreed to pay our employees that stayed with us 10%, 5% of it on the day of closing if they were still employed by us. And then the other 5% would be kept and held back and paid to them if they're still working with Bright Spring in 6 months. We also said that we had to make sure that our employees were all hired. And in paragraph 15, it says just that they agree to hire each of our employees. And so everyone that works for Dare County as of the date of closing will get an offer of employment. They don't have to accept it, but they'll have an offer of employment with Bright Spring to continue doing what they're doing. That offer of employment is good. They can't be fired. They'd have to pass a drug screen and a background check. But assuming that they would all pass that, they would all be hired if they chose to be. And then they're protected employees for 6 months following that. They have to be there 6 months to get the retention bonus. And they can only be terminated during that 6 months for cause. So they'd have to do something wrong to be terminated. Otherwise, their employment is guaranteed during that period. We talked about eligible medical coverage. The contract in paragraph 15 includes provisions that says they're going to receive medical benefits. And it includes the language that it covers all pre-existing conditions. So anyone who has a condition now, the minute this changes over into Bright Springs, if it does, then their medical conditions are then covered by Bright Springs insurance. There's a condition to seller's performance in paragraph 22, and that is we don't have to transfer if they haven't extended those offers that I just talked about to our employees. And so we've done the things that we promised we would do. I'll address a couple of things that Ms. Myers just brought up. She said something about ending her health benefits. We haven't ended their health benefits. Their health benefits will stay with us until they move, if they move to Bright Spring, and when they go to Bright Spring, if they choose to, then Bright Spring picks those health benefits up. And so the health benefits will continue. They're not going to lose health benefits as we go forward. She said something about we were taking away her retirement. We're not taking away her retirement. All the retirement that she's accrued in her employment with the county will remain there. When her time to retire comes, whenever she chooses to do that, the state retirement plan will pay her out for her time served on the formula that they use, just like they do other employees. So she's not losing her retirement. And Bright Springs has a 401k that they can participate in to further augment their retirement if they choose to. She talked about vacation time. We have a policy in the county that you can only accrue 30 days of vacation. That's the policy that every employee abides by. That's the policy that she was told when she was hired. It's a policy that I was told when I was hired, and everybody has told that. When you leave, if you separate from the county for any reason, you get paid your 30 days of vacation. You get that time. If you accrue more than 30 days of vacation in a year and you haven't used it in that year, then whatever your excess vacation is goes into your sick time, and your sick time then counts and towards your retirement. But you are paid out your vacation, so you're paid out up to 30 hours, and she would certainly get paid her 30 hours of vacation. What she's asking you to do is go back into the history and say, if in 10 years ago I didn't use 6 hours of vacation and it went into my sick bank, I want you to pay me for that now. And that's not our policy. That's not what we've ever done with any employee. That's not what we've ever done for any separation for any reason, whether it was voluntary or involuntary. And that isn't the policy that we're following now. But we are following what we said we were going to do, and that was we pay out their vacation by our policies, and we intend to do that, as well as pay the retention bonus that we talked about as well for those employees. So I think we've kept our word to our employees. We've done the things we said we were going to do. We've made sure that they all had jobs. The contract says they're going to get paid for their jobs at the same rate or better than they're making now, so they're not going to take hits on their salaries. We've done the retention bonus to try to help them through and give them some incentives to keep working. We're paying out the vacation. We've negotiated the health benefits for them. We've been working on this contract now for a couple of months. We have an attorney working on it, and she and I have spent uncountless hours, the bulk of which is making sure we nail down these employee issues, because we did want to do right and honor our employees. Now, Ms. Myers may disagree that we're not doing right or whatever, but I can promise you that we've worked really hard and spent a tremendous amount of time trying to be sure that we've got it, and we've emphasized that at every conversation we've had with them. And so the contract is before you. There's a resolution, if you choose to go forward with it, that's in your package that you will adopt That resolution will authorize you to move forward. It will authorize me and the chairman to sign the things that we need to sign. There are some details that have to be done and added to the contract as we go forward. It's not with regard to any of the issues I've talked about. It's with regard to other assets and things that we've just got to work through and they've got to figure out. And so some of those things will be different, but nothing substantively from what we've talked about now. So that's where we are. That resolution is there for you should you choose to go forward. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. Sheila's still here to answer any questions that you might have. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, County Manager. Appreciate that. I would ask the board if they have any questions with respects to the contract. And then after that, we'll either have a motion to move forward or not, and then we'll certainly have additional discussion after that. So I will ask the board if they have any comments or questions of the.
Yeah, Bobby, I got a question. So I was asking, and I didn't know the answer to it, and so I'm asking you. Is there anything in this need that we're possibly selling that says where the money that we receive from this company has to go to? Does it have to go to Health and Human Services? Does it go in our general fund? It's not mandated by law that it has to go back into the Health and Human Services, is it?
It is not. You've been talking to Mary Helen. The funds that we get from the sale, if you choose to go forward with it, are our funds to do whatever you all as a board choose to do with them. They can go in the general fund. They can go in the capital improvement fund. They can do whatever you all decide to do with it. It's our money, just like any other unrestricted revenue.
Okay.
Any other questions of Bobby, Vice Chairman?
Bobby, just again as clarification, and I think you touched on this a while ago, but just again, for further clarification. If Bright Spring and or any subsequent owner or holder of the certificate of need through the asset purchase agreement, they must abide by the obligations of this contract. Is that not right? And just further to that, if they do not, what are the remedies?
I'll give you the lawyer answer. It depends. So under the statute, for the first 3 years, they can't transfer the certificate of need. And so for the first 3 years, there's no issue there. Upon the end of 3 years, then by statute, they would be free to transfer it if they chose to, or sell it, or do whatever it be their company. And it may or may not abide by this contract. Now, the important part 3 years out is going to be the service area. And the protection that we have for the service area is that our certificate of need is for a particular service area, which is Dare County. And under the certificate of need, whoever has that certificate of need for all of Dare County has to provide that service for all of Dare County. So the service level wouldn't change. The obligations under this contract would already be expired because we would have already gotten our money, all the escrows would have been paid, the employee retention time would already be over with. So the only thing left in the contract that anyone could even breach 3 years out would be the service level, and the service levels are mandated by statute if they keep the certificate of need.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep. Will you allow me to, board, to elaborate on that a little bit, Vice Chairman?
Please.
The asset purchase agreement, it's certainly a draft, but it's what we're voting on. Under Section 2 states requirements of the sale continue to provide same and similar service that seller provided immediately prior to the closing date to all individuals in need of such services in the service area. B, ensure that indigent care is available to the population of the service area at levels related to need as previously demonstrated and determined mutually by the seller and purchaser as set forth in Schedule 2B. Also, not enact financial admission policies that have the effect of denying essential services or treatment solely because of patients' immediate inability to pay service or treatment. Now, I know the county manager got into the legal aspect of it, but I want to be real clear on item 3 that clearly states revision of assets. In the event purchaser fails to substantially comply with the conditions set forth in Section 2, which I just went over, fails to operate the business open to the public and free of discrimination based on race, creed, color, sex, or national origin, unless relieved of this responsibility by operation of law. Then all ownership and all other rights in the business, including the assets associated with the business, shall revert to seller subject to the provisions in Section 4. And Section 4 basically 3 items says, if the purchaser fails to substantially comply with the conditions, the party shall attempt to, in good faith to promptly resolve any dispute or disagreement regarding the existence of substantial compliance. I want to be real clear that the public be aware of this. So thank you for allowing me to, that was going to be part of my comments later, but I felt it important to make that point now. Any other questions by the board of the county manager? Then I will ask the pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor
Second it.
by Vice Chairman Overman. I'm sorry, who did the second?
I did, Jim.
Oh, Commissioner Tobin. Thank you, Commissioner. Trying to get this to scroll down because I want this motion to be that the board will consider a resolution to approve the terms of the asset purchase agreement by and between Dare County and Adoration Home Health Care Virginia LLC, an affiliate of Rest Care Inc., DBA Bright Springs Health Services. If approved, the asset purchase agreement will effectively sell substantially all of the assets utilized in the operation of Dare County's Home Health and Hospice Agency, Dare Home Health and Hospice, to Bright Springs. That is the motion on the floor. It's been seconded by Commissioner Tobin. I will open the floor now for discussion, and I'd like to call on each commissioner with some comments. And Commissioner House, would you mind kicking this off?
Sure thing. This is a very big decision from all of us, and we've gone above and beyond, I think, to rest assured of we're going into an agreement that's going to help not only the citizens here in Dare County, but also the employees we have, and to maintain their structure as well. One of the things that was brought up in public comment that I will make a reference to, one of the public comments asked if we would consider what would happen if one of our loved ones would be placed in hospice care with a for-profit company. And I will let you know that both of my parents went through hospice care. Both of them went through it with a for-profit company, and I could not say anything more about professionalism of those companies that handled their case. So I think we've done a good job here, and I think it's going to be a benefit to all of the citizens of Dare County as compared to what we can handle on our own now. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner House. Commissioner Tobin?
Yeah, I spent just about the entire weekend going over this agreement, read several of the sections several times just to wrap my head around it. And I really think the portions that addressed our employees and how they were going to be handled were very good. And I think they're being treated very fairly. And also the part that we've gone over, that if they don't live up to what they say they're going to do, we can get it back. So I think with all that said, I think it's a very good direction that we're headed in, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Tobin. Commissioner Couch?
It's the best available option that we have, and I'm on board.
Thank you, Commissioner Couch. Vice Chairman Oden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been pretty clear throughout the discussions that we've had about this situation that the status quo that we have in Dare County is not acceptable. We have too many people without service and without hope of getting service until somebody passes or somebody, gets well or whatever, and that can be an excruciatingly long period of time. The other thing is that 95 or 96 counties, North Carolina counties, that have done this cannot all be wrong. And if this was an epic problem, as has been discussed, we would have heard about it at some point, and we have not heard that. I think several of the commissioners were on a phone call with Stanley County, who used Bright Spring, and they had no complaints about them. They had been happy with the service. I don't know what the length of time was, but they had been happy with the service that Bright Spring had been giving them. So anyhow, with that being said, I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner Baker. You thought I forgot you, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't mind saying that decision's beating me up big time. I think in the audience out there, I've talked to most of you guys on the telephone, and we've discussed it. I've talked to all my fellow commissioners. I've voiced my opinion that I cannot stand big business, and I still don't like big business. Also don't like big government. But I do believe that the number one priority for me and the decision I got to make is got to be made for the citizens of Dare County and what's best for them. I took a long run yesterday, and I was going to try to make my decision then, and I got back, and I called Mary Helen, talked to her on the telephone for about 30 minutes, and in that conversation, it came to mind of how it was in Dare County back when I was a kid, and the church ladies at the church would come to your house when you were passing, and they would take care of you. Hatteras Island had their own group of hospice down there, and they got together and they formed a group and they took care. Things have changed. It's not like that anymore. The whole concept has changed and it's gone. And we cannot sustain the way we're going right now. And that is the base of my decision to go with this. On the bottom of this, on the top of this thing here, and this is what clinched it for me. I was reading my agenda yesterday afternoon after talking to Mary Helen, and it says, how will these decisions impact our children and our families? If we don't make the decision to do this, according to what people have told me, I've talked to Sheila in depth, this thing might implode and we can't handle it ourselves. I don't want that to happen. I don't want anyone to be like my friend Danny Purcell's friend who could not be serviced by Dare County. He had to go to Virginia, and that's where he passed, in a Centura home in the state of Virginia. He couldn't do it at the comfort of his own house because we could not supply and help him with his need at the time when he needed us. So I'm on board. It was a tough decision for me, but I worked it out, and that's where I am.
Thank you, Commissioner Bateman. I'll wrap it up with some comments. I have struggled with this as well for a number of weeks. And I'm going to explain to you why I am voting in favor of this. Not all big business is bad, Commissioner Bateman. I retired in 2011 from the number 3 largest insurance brokerage firm in the world. Now, I started my career 34 years prior to that with a small town agency that was located in Chesapeake, Virginia, and Richmond, Virginia. After 15 years with them, they sold us. Did the same thing that Dare County's doing with this, offered every one of us a position. Yeah, it wasn't a free ride. Trust me, I was in production, so I had to sell. And I sold. And then another 10 years later, we were sold again. Once again, the offer's on the table, you got a job. But it wasn't a free ride. I had to sell because I was in production. And then the last 3 years with that company, we were purchased by the number 4 agency in the country. Once again, I was offered a job. Once again, I was in production. I had to sell. They honored all 3 times that we were bought and sold, they honored that. I got a 401, I got medical, I did my job, and I retired after 34 years. So all the big business is not bad. We had 4 offers. Bright Springs had the best offer on the table. It wasn't about money. We talked about this. It was about benefits. The other 3 didn't offer tenure, couldn't offer the right types of benefits that we were matching, trying to help do the best that we could. One of them would only give tenure for certain things. One wouldn't even do that, just the health and vision and dental, and that's it. One of them left us high and dry that quoted on the risk. County manager brought up the letter, talked about paying restitution bonuses. Bright Springs intends, part of the contract, as he said, to offer all the business current employees after closing and to make offers of employment to all such employees subject to Bright Springs' established hiring policies and requirements. Those employees will be credited with their length of service and sell it for the Bright Springs benefits. You know, we've heard this on social media. Oh, we're not getting offered this. We're not getting offered that. We got 500 people's signatures saying this and that and the other. I called one of those people, had a conversation with them. They didn't have a clue what was in the contract. They just signed the daggone social media hearsay as to what was going to happen. So, you know, if you're going to make your decision based on that to sign some kind of petition, then God help you. I went over the fact about the requirements of the sale. Made it very clear that the assets associated with the businesses shall revert back to the seller subject to provisions of Section 4, which I stated what those were. You know, the list goes on and on. Vice Chairman, you mentioned Stanley County, myself, Commissioner Bateman, the county manager, Commissioner Ross, got on the phone. We were probably on the phone a good 45 minutes with the county manager and the health director. Not one complaint from Bright Springs of making the service available to their residents have they had since they made the sale in December of 2020. They spoke very, very highly of the company. They've lived up to every expectation that they had in their contract. I was very, very comfortable after I got off the phone with them knowing what they had said about Bright Springs. I know I'm getting lengthy, but I'm going to share with you why I'm making my vote. Because I have a moral obligation and a sworn obligation to do what is in the best interest of our citizens. We're not servicing those that need the care. It's that simple. We've gone out, we've tried to hire people. Can't get them. There are numbers, last time I was told it was like 35, 37 individuals we can't even help. We're not doing our job, board, if we don't vote for this, that a company says that they can do that. You think for 1 minute, sitting here this evening, that I've got a 95-year-old mother that's at Spring Arbor that gets hospice care. There are certain levels of hospice care, by the way. And I was there just Thursday when one of the nurses was there taking care of my mother. I walk in the door, talk to my mother, vacuum her room, clean it all up. She's taking care of my mother, doing everything that she normally does. She knows who I am. I introduced myself because I didn't personally know her. Before she left, she looked me in the eye. She said, "Mr. Woodard, I want you to know that your board has done every single thing humanly possible for our department, and I hold no animosity whatsoever over this. I know that what you're doing is in the best interest of our citizens because, Mr. Woodard, we are not serving those who are in need." So do you think for 1 minute, Amanda, I would sit up here and make that decision based on the service that my 95-year-old mother receives? I don't think so. I know, and I've been told, and I've spoken with the management of the folks at Spring, not only with where mother is, but Bright Springs, that they will not let us down. For those reasons, and I could go on and on and on, but read the tape from the last discussions that we had on this. And I've got many more reasons why I'm voting positive to make this sale. Once again, I will state, it is my moral and my sworn duty to do what is in the best interest of the citizens of Dare County. My fellow board members, are there any other comments that you would like to make? With that being said, I will call the voice vote. Commissioner House?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Couch?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Yay.
Vice Chairman Overman?
Yay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
Chairman Woodard? Yay. The motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, this is not on the budget, but it is related, so I'm going to bring it up now before Dave gets to the budget amendment, which is the next thing on the agenda. In our conversations with regard to Bright Spring, we've had some concern and some conversation about needing a liaison to sort of look over this for the next year to be sure service levels are right, to take phone calls through the transition, to move our folks from what was our care into Bright Springs care, and to do that smoothly. And so in talking with our attorneys, other places have done this, and it's actually probably a part-time position to have that liaison there, and it's only for a year. As we were looking at how to do that, we found that we also had in our budget that's already been approved a nurse for to do our diabetes program, which was a part-time position as well. So what I'd like to propose to you is to combine those two part-time positions into one position and allow that nurse that we would hire to put in that position to do both the diabetes part of this part-time, and B, the liaison part-time. We need a nurse with the skills and understand the coding and the things like that that are associated with billing for Bright Springs and understand care and those sorts of things. And we need a nurse also because that's what's required for our diabetes program. When I had Elizabeth in HR work with Sheila to run this up through create this position, if you will, it turns into a public health nurse 3 position, which is a grade 73. And the salary range for that is about 52 to 84. Typically, we hire, if someone has experiences, at or near the mid-range, which would be around 68.4 or 68.5, something like that. The net result of all that discussion is that when you apply the benefits and do all the things that we need to add an additional $71,180 into the budget to cover the position. We had some money in the budget already for the diabetes position, and now we're adding this to that. And so what I would like to do is approval to do the appropriate budget amendments to, well, first I'd like the approval to create that position on a 1-year basis only. And then at the end of 1 year, if the diabetes position remains, it would revert back to a part-time position. And then, assuming that you would approve that, then authority to do the appropriate budget amendments to transfer funds to pay that 71.8, and we would probably do that out of the sales proceeds from what we got. To the extent that Dave needs that in his budget amendment that he's about to do, then we would want to include that. He may tell you you don't need it, but if we do, we want those authorities. We don't have to come back to you. Anything else I need for that, Dave? Okay. So that's what I'm asking.
All right, is there a motion by the board to do so?
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner House, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion for that budget amendment.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Couch. Any further discussion?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bobby, is this internal only, or is it, we're going to open it up?
It's likely to be internal only first.
Thank you. All right, I'm good.
He said budget amendment. I'm assuming he's saying create the position and the appropriate budget amendments.
Is that correct,
Correct.
Commissioner House?
Yeah, yes, correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And then items 6 and 7, I'll turn those over to Dave.
Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Number 6 is, when we were developing the budget back in March and April, we didn't know the timing of all this, so your 2022 budget didn't include anything for home health and hospice, and said we'd clean it up at this meeting if we needed to. And so what you have in front of you is to get the operation through the month of July until August 1st. And we went ahead and calculated vacation and comp time payouts, so those are included in these numbers if we needed them, and we do. So, but what I will do is I'll be back on your next meeting, July 19th, with a cleanup of everything, including this position and whatever we have to do for closing. And I think in the meantime, we'll just stick it into another sub-fund of the general fund, like disaster recovery is, and we can just let it sit there until you guys make decisions. So your requested action is to adopt this budget amendment, which will get the operation through the month of July through until August 1st.
So moved.
Okay. There's a motion by Commissioner Tobin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Chairman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Aye. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you. All right, item number 7. I put this off until the last meeting of the year because I'm going to tell you that I grade reports for the GFOA. I grade audit reports, and I don't agree with what we're having to do, and I frankly don't understand it. But our friends at the State Treasurer's Office says that there are, for this fiscal year and next fiscal year, we have to create 3 new special revenue funds. Special revenue funds are funds like 911, beach nourishment, sanitation, where you have a dedicated revenue source and you got to show the expenditure of that separately. And they've got to be budgeted. They say we have to create a, what they're calling a deeds of trust fund, which we're going to use number 28. That's simply a state fee that we're required to collect by the state in the Register of Deeds office and then directly remit it to the state. We don't levy the tax, we don't direct the use, we don't have control of the use. But my friends say we're supposed to budget it. That said, what we've done in the past is remitted out of the revenue account that we have in the general fund so that the net is only the county share of the fees. The second item is fines and forfeitures from the court system. There's a state statute that says whatever fines and forfeitures are collected by the court system has to be paid to the county. The only function the county does is turn around and pay it to the school system.
Pass through.
Again, the State Treasurer's Office interpretation of GASB 87 is that we're supposed to budget that as a special revenue fund. We've done that in the past as an agency fund, a trust and agency fund, where we're just showing that we're the pass-through entity. Then the third item is related to social services. They're calling it the Representative Payee Fund. It's where social services acts as a trustee for individuals based on capacity purposes. So they will actually take over the bank account and the assets of this individual and direct the expenditure for their benefit. And we've always accounted for that as a trust fund. Again, State Treasurer's Office says we have to budget that as a special revenue fund. So our request is that you do actually 6 budget amendments, 3 for each one of the funds for this fiscal year, and then 3 for each one of the funds for next fiscal year, fiscal 22.
Dave, have you had any conversation with our good friend Bob, our auditor, in reference to any of this? Was there any need to reach out to him to talk about that?
I have not. It comes down to, we've both expressed the point that, I've been 4 times to Greene County to help them get reports done. And at the same time we're doing these kind of things, when I wrote this up the 3rd week of May, there were 10 counties, 10% of the counties in the state that hadn't turned in their audit report from last year, from 2020, that were due in December. And yet we're piling on more. There's got to be a practical solution somewhere, or more practical solution, but.
Just more work.
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't do anything for public disclosure. Nobody even knows what it is. You can't even explain what it is.
And that,
How do you budget?
I was just ready to say the
Well,
same
that
thing.
was my point to Raleigh, is that we'll adopt a budget, but it's not going to mean anything because we don't know what the revenue's going to be, so we're going to be safe.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a moving target every year. I mean,
Well, right, and the social services is a great example. I mean, we can get ideas on the other 2 based on activity, but social services.
And you don't spend it until you get it, so it's not like we could spend it first and then not meet budget. So we'll send them what we got. If we didn't get as much as we budgeted on the revenue side, we do a budget amendment and change the revenue to meet what we sent them. So you haven't done anything.
so it was working pretty good, but now they want to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, our finance director needs some direction. Do we adopt 3 budget amendments for FY 21 and 22? Is there a motion?
We have a
to do so?
choice.
You gonna remove this gun from my head? Because I don't think you got a choice.
So is there a motion to do so?
So
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Vice Chairman
I don't think
Overman, second.
Second.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bateman, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Mr.
Chairman, item 8 is an RFQ for professional architectural services under $50,000. So from time to time, we have a need for an architect. We needed one for looking at our EMS stations, for example. We needed a report. We didn't need them to design a station. We needed someone with architectural experience to give us some information. Sometimes we need, a storage building added on the side of something, and we need an architect or somebody to draw it for us and make it fit structurally with what we're doing. There are various small things over time that we use our architect for, and each time that we do that under the statute, we've got to come to you all. We've got to do an RFQ. We've got to put it out there for, I don't know how long the time is, 60 days or so, 30 days, however long. So it takes us some amount of time to get it. And then once we get the RFQ, we've got to come back and negotiate the price. So we're 120 days from the time that we need it till the time that we get the person in place just to start the work. So in talking with Dave and talking with Dustin, I asked, could we get a county architect, for lack of a better term, somebody that we keep on contract full-time for these small things that we just need to make a phone call, get some information, whatever. We'll pay them for their time. And so they sent out an RFQ requesting architectural firms to submit on that. And what you got is you got 3 responses. You got one from Oakley Collier, who we're familiar with. You got one from Boomerang, whom we're familiar with. And you got one from MHA Works out of Greenville. In looking through this stuff, and I'm sure you have because it was in your package, but they're all excellent firms. They're all qualified. They all do the things that we've talked about doing. I think that they could all certainly do it. We have experience with Boomerang. They're doing our COA project, so we talk to them often. And we've used Oakley Collier for a number of years for a lot of things for us. They have done studies like this in the past for us, and we've chosen them to do that. So with all that said, based on the familiarity that we have with them, based on our past experience with them and the good work that they've done for us in the past on projects of similar scope, the staff recommends that we choose Oakley Collier to serve in this role. They have been doing it for us in the past, but we've had to go through this process in the past to get there each time we needed them, and this is going to short circuit the need to continue to do this over and over. If we build something big, if we build a whole new EMS station in Kill Devil Hills, if we build a new public works, build any of the things that are in our capital improvement plan, we're going to go out with an RFQ for those projects just like we do every other project. This isn't the architect for that kind of stuff. This is just somebody for us to use as a resource on a sort of as-needed basis for the small stuff going forward.
All right, thank you, County Manager. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve Oakley Collier Architects as, for projects valued at $50,000 or less.
Thank you, Commissioner Tobin. There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Tobin. It's been seconded by Vice Chairman Overman and Commissioner Bateman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Chairman, that brings you to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you have the approval of the minutes, the tax collector's report, a budget amendment for the holiday and comp time payoff that was approved on May 17th, reimbursement resolutions for fiscal year 2021-22 vehicle and equipment financing, and fiscal year 21 and 22 public works equipment financing. You have an NCDEQ grant contract 8161 and 8162 to budget that, and that's a budget amendment. You have approval of the Avon property owners July 4th celebration, request to approve the sheriff's grant application, and a 3-party agreement with the NCDOT right-of-way for the Dare Challenge project.
Thank you, County Manager. Is there a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner House. Any second? I'll second it then. Those in favor of any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Chairman, that brings us to item 10, and those are your board appointments. Your first board appointment is the Game and Wildlife Commission. The terms of Andrew Horn, Phil Haywood, and Harvey Scarborough Jr. And Buddy Shelton expire in July. They all wish to be reappointed for a 3-year term. You have applications from John Cook and David Hines.
All right, County Manager, I'd like to take these individually, if we can, in a voice vote. Andrew Horn, he's the first on the list that wants to be reappointed. Is there a motion to reappoint?
Motion to reappoint.
There's a motion by Commissioner Bateman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Tobin and Vice Chairman Overman. Please signify yea or nay as I call your name. Commissioner House?
Yay.
Commissioner Couch?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Yay.
Vice Chairman Overman?
Yay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
Chairman Woodard? Yay. Motion carries unanimous. Second individual for reappointment is Mr. Phil Haywood. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
The motion by by Commissioner Tobin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Chairman. Voice vote. Commissioner House?
Yay.
Commissioner Couch?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Yay.
Vice Chairman Overman?
Yay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
And Chairman Woodard? Yay. Motion carries unanimous. Next individual is Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Scarborough?
Motion to approve Harvey Scarborough Jr.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Tobin, seconded by Commissioner Couch. There's those in favor of the motion. Commissioner House?
Yay.
Commissioner Couch?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Yay.
Vice Chairman?
Nay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
Chairman Woodard? Nay. Motion carries 4-2. Buddy Shelton.
Motion to approve Buddy Shelton.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Tobin.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bateman. Commissioner House?
Yay.
Commissioner Couch?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Yay.
Vice Chairman Overman?
Yay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
Chairman Woodard? Yay. Motion carries unanimous.
Next, Mr. Chairman, will be the Wanchese Community Center. The terms of Tina Sherrod, Bill Wilson, Sally DeFosse, Becky Beecham, Joseph Lee Willis expire in July. They would all like to be reappointed for another 2-year term. You have an application from Justin Bateman.
Move to reappoint.
All of the following?
All.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor by the Vice Chairman to reappoint all of the following. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Those in favor, Commissioner House?
Yay.
Commissioner Couch?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Aye.
Vice
Yay.
Chairman Overman?
Yay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
Commissioner Woodard? Yay. Motion carries unanimous.
And then finally, is the East Lake Community Center Board. The term for Rosemarie Dozier expires in July, and she would like to be reappointed for another 3-year term.
Is there a motion to reappoint?
Motion to approve.
It's a motion by Commissioner Tobin. It's seconded by Commissioner Couch. Commissioner House?
Yay.
Commissioner Bateman?
Yay.
Vice Chairman?
Yay.
Commissioner Tobin?
Yay.
Can I
Chairman
get in on
Woodard?
this?
Yay. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Danny. I need all the help I can get.
Mr. Chairman, that would be your agenda.
Thank you, County Manager. That brings us to item number 11, and that's Commissioner's business. And Commissioner House, would you kick it off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to thank the board and also the county staff for going through this move with Bright Spring. I know it's been a daunting task on all of our parts, but I think we've come to about the best situation we can with it. And I just want to thank everybody's hard work on that. Our day in history in 1788, the U.S. Constitution actually goes into effect as New Hampshire is the 9th state to ratify it, which made it official on this day. And on a happier note, I do believe we have a pet of the week, which is Miss Virginia. Can we roll that one, please?
Our pet of the week for this week is Virginia. This delightful darling is about 3 to 4 years old. Virginia was found right here in Manteo as a stray. She loves to be pet and held, so a home that will give her the attention she craves is needed. Virginia is brilliant with kids, could possibly go home with another cat, however, no dog friends for her. To adopt Virginia or foster one of our other animals, you can come visit us Tuesday through Sunday at our shelter located in Manteo. This week, join us at Nag's Head Hammocks in Duck, Friday, June 25th from 10 to 12 to meet our adoptable dogs. For more information, visit our website at www.obxspca.org or visit our OBX SPCA Facebook page.
On another bit of good news with our Pet of the Week program, last week is a good example. The Pet of the Week was actually broadcasted on Monday, and by Tuesday afternoon, that pet was adopted. So these programs are making some positive impact. So if you would, please go down to SBC and check out Virginia and give her a forever home. And hopefully, fellow commissioners, I'll be back with you again at our next meeting. And have a great day.
Thank you, Commissioner House. Appreciate it. Commissioner Tobin.
Yeah, I just have a couple things. We had our task force meeting for Oregon Inlet this past week, and two of our Corps members, or not Corps members, our Coast Guard members are leaving us. Brittany Aker has gotten a promotion, and she will be going to law school for the Coast Guard, which is really exciting. She's a nice young lady, and I wish her the best. And Ryan, who's been in charge of all the navigational buoy systems, has also gotten a promotion, and he will be moving up and actually teaching the class on that. And we're going to miss both of them. They've both been real good assets to us, and they're going to go far in their careers. So
Agreed.
I wish them both the best of luck. Also, the Merit is here dredging, so that's a good thing. And as far as our dredge goes, we still have our weekly meetings. There was a little bit of an issue with the hydraulic rams, the forward hydraulic ram. There's a 3/4 of an inch discrepancy on how it mounts, so that we are in process of engineering a fix for that. And the mid-body section, which is the hopper, the dredge, I would say, I don't know, maybe 50% to 65% complete in the welding of it. The bow has been started, and quite a bit of the lofting has been done on that. The stern has just been started, and they're still waiting for the engineering stuff for the house. So it's coming along. We're planning on a trip down there in the next few weeks, and then I would like to invite all the commissioners when we go down to New Orleans for the beach nourishment project to join in a day trip over there. It takes about 2.5 hours to get to the shipyard from New Orleans, so we could probably do a day trip over there and see it and come back.
I'd like to do that.
So when are you thinking?
When we go down to New Orleans for that beach nourishment project.
Okay, perfect time.
I mean, we're going to be right there.
That's
so-
right. Okay. Good deal.
And that's all I have.
Good stuff. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Couch?
Busy time. Everybody's exhausted. And I just want to give you a shout out, Bob, Mr. Chairman, for your remarks about, we're going to have to suck it up and tolerate the fact that there's a lot of people running around and everybody's exhausted. But, they're our lifeblood. They really are, and that's the appropriate word. And a rising tide floats all boats. And, some people on some of the stuff I'm reading say, well, a rising tide can sink a lot of them too. But you know what? I packed fish when I was in high school. I relish this opportunity that we're having now. We're not going to have this forever. And you got to make hay while the sun's shining. I know it's been hard on Irvin. People in the restaurant industry, it's hard on everybody. Nobody is spared from the crush of people. We're 10 times our population. And, just get your rest and stay with it. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. You're probably referring to my comments, Chairman's comments on Friday, and all I was trying to do was ask people to be locals and visitors alike to be patient and be respectful. Well, some of it backfired. I got my social media comments,
I can't.
Quit reading that stuff.
Do what?
I said, quit reading
Well,
that
you're
stuff.
right. I should quit reading.
I had to go to the airport. I came from the airport. When I crossed that bridge, heading into Currituck, at about 2:30, they were backed all the way to Grand. Now, the police were doing a great job. And on the way back, stopped again at the BP. And so that, yeah, they're here. And
we're fortunate.
Thank you.
We're
I agree.
fortunate, Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bateman?
As I was saying, this too shall pass. And like as he said, we've been through feast and famine before, and it's going to come back around again. So we're very fortunate where we are. Sheila, congratulations on your Employee of the Month, and thank you for all you do. And Donna's already left, but I know that her hair probably turned gray going through all that stuff and developing that document that she put out. Anyway, so that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say, Sheila, again, my many thanks, my appreciation, and my admiration for the job you did and for the job you continue to do. We really appreciate it. Thank you a bunch. And thank you for all the help that you give me particularly and the Saving Lives Task Force that's outside of what you do normally, on top of everything else. But thank you a bunch. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. And I'll just echo the rest of them. Sheila, you took some heat off of me, especially when we closed the bridge. But I guess the frustration was shared at both of us. But you're a trooper, and I respect you tremendously. And can't thank you enough for what you did. Really appreciate it. Board, there's times when we really have to make some tough decisions. I can't be more proud of serving with each and every one of you, because I know when we come up here and we sit up here and we talk about controversial issues, and we've had our share, trust me, and we've had one this evening, but I know for a fact that each and every one of you do your homework, you study the issues, and you vote based on what you think is in the best interest of our citizens. And I can't be more proud of you. And I want you to know how much I appreciate it. Thank you for what you do for Dare County.
Thank you.
County Manager.
Yes, sir. I have several things. I hate to prolong this. First on my list, as you've heard Irvin talk about several times, Dare Challenge is working on a project over in Wanchese in our continued efforts to help those with substance abuse problems. And one of the things he asked is they're clearing some property there and they're moving some stumps that's creating holes where the stumps used to be. We have the dredge spoil that we got from the Shallowbag Bay project over in our pit. And the Coast Guard's getting ready to do a project, and we're going to have some more of that type of spoil in our pit as well. They'd like to use some of that spoil to fill those holes. I talked with Shannon. We're okay with that. We can even load it and haul it. We have the ability to do that. But it is a county asset, and for us to give that away, you all have to declare it surplus, and you all have to authorize us to then transfer it to that site. So I'm here before you tonight to ask that you declare that muck, if they need to use it, as surplus, and then authorize us to transfer it. Commissioner Bateman, you chime in if we need any more, but that's what we need from our perspective to move forward.
I move that we move that spoil resource to fill in those holes and authorize, ask this board to authorize county assets to do so.
And declare it surplus.
Declare it surplus.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner Couch. It's been seconded by Vice Chairman. Any further discussion?
I've got one question. Has that soil been sampled and tested?
Irvin and I talked about that at length, and they understand that they've got to check it out, depending on where they put it, what they do. We're willing to let them have it. It's up to them to decide if it's suitable or not. Their engineers will do that.
Okay, just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure.
We got an engineer going out there checking it out and everything.
You didn't pull any of those stumps out of sound, did you?
And Sheila, just letting you know, we're also delineating the property and zone where the septic system is, so it would not be nowhere near that.
Irvin's done his homework, guys. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
On Thursday or Friday, I don't remember which day it was, the chairman and I had a conference call with the COA Foundation with regard to our DARE Guaranteed College Tuition Scholarship Program. And they gave us a little bit of an update, and Amy's going to come to our July meeting and give you all an update. But our discussion came that in the discussion was that we had money left over after awarding all of our scholarships. Our scholarships are supplemental scholarships. Once a student gets all the other scholarships that they can get, we add to it to make sure they have enough scholarship money in total to be able to attend free. And so we've had, even though we've had good success getting kids, we've had some money left over, and the question came up, what do we want to do with that money? And you all have heard it, I've had calls, and I think some of you all have too, that there are people out there in the community who aren't recent college graduates that could benefit from being able to go to COA and change their career. They may be able to go learn how to be a welder or an EMT or go to BOET or whatever other training they might wish to do to get into a career that they're not now in, or get out of one career and move to another. So we thought that would be a good opportunity for Dare County residents to also put people in seats at COA and also help them the way we're helping those people that are graduating from high school. And so what's being proposed is that we do what we've been doing, make the first priority the graduates and award all of those scholarships just like we've done in the past. And then if we have money left over, open that money up to other residents to come in and sign up for programs as well. Now, the programs they sign up for may not all be at the DARE campus. I mean, if they want to go to BLET, they're going to have to go to Currituck or something like that. But they do have to be DARE County residents to qualify for the program. And they've asked to amend the Memorandum of Understanding to say that. The second thing is, it says, the way they've said it is, will cover unmet tuition needs for every qualifying student. The maximum award is $6,000 a year. The actual cost to be paid in full after additional scholarships have been applied. So they've capped the number at $6,000. They've added the language that I just described to allow others to come in. And then the last thing that they've asked for is they've asked for us to up the administrative fee from $25,000 to $37,000. And the $12,000 difference is they have an employee who's a part-time employee there now who is working to place all these students, is going into the guidance office, is the liaison from COA to the school system to make the program work. And he needs to be full-time in order to keep him, and they would like to put him on the full-time payroll. For our plan to be successful, we have to have somebody out there recruiting, making sure we keep COA in the forefront of the students and the parents' decision-making process. And this guy's done an excellent job to do that. And so they're asking for us to increase that by that $12,000. The money's there to do that with. And so, again, those are the things that are being asked, and we would need a motion and approval from the board to do that.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bateman to do so. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner House. Any further discussion?
I got,
Dan?
Bobby, relative to these individuals who have been out of high school for a while, does first come, first serve play into any of that residual amount?
I don't think that's been decided. The answer is, at the moment, I would say yes. If we get into a place where there's more demand than there is money, in the past, what we've done is we've prorated. So if we had more local high school kids that wanted the scholarship and was going to use up all the money, and it wasn't enough, then we would pay out all that we had prorated among everybody. So I'd assume we would do the same thing
Right.
with the older folks.
That's what we want to do.
That's perfect, greatly acceptable, yeah. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries unanimous. Let me just say before you move on, Bobby, I really appreciate y'all's support with this. This young man is doing a phenomenal job, and, you know, let's face it, $25,000. I mean, you know, we got to get this guy on full time and help him out, but he is unbelievable. He's working unbelievable hours. I mean, he's not an 8-hour-a-day guy. He's been at schools at night, recruiting and doing stuff. He's really a fine young man, and we want to keep him. We don't want him to leave from here. And the other thing is, we had a nurse recently that really, a lady wanted to change curriculum and go into the nursing program, and she had been past the 24 months. But what she wants to stay here in Dare County, but she wants to go back and get her nursing degree. And I mean, if we hadn't used the money, guys, I mean, that's what we're here for, is to help our young folks.
I agree.
And so I commend y'all for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it.
Good government.
So, Bobby?
Okay. Did we vote on that?
Yeah, we did, and it
Okay.
passed unanimous.
All right. The next thing I have, and I apologize for springing this on, but we just got it in final form. Dorothy and I have been working on a contract with Granicus that we need to renew with them. It's a software contract that they use for their web pages and for other things there. There was some language in it that I didn't like. I don't like evergreen contracts that automatically renew if we don't do something. And so we've modified that language. But what it turned it into is a multiple year contract. I only have the authority to sign contracts that are 1 year in duration. This would be more than that. How many would it be, Dorothy, the way we've got it set up now?
At least 5.
At least 5. So it'd be a 5-year contract. We can terminate at specific intervals in there, but we need you to approve it because it's a multiple year contract.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Motion on the floor by the vice chairman to approve. County manager, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner House. Tobin, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
I just, to bring you up to speed, last week we had the first meeting of the NC12 subcommittee with all the stakeholders there. Pretty much everybody showed up. They were all there. They were all excited. It went very well. We sort of gave them the indoctrination, if you will, got them up to speed, let them know why we were there and what we were doing. And so we're getting off to a good start. Everybody was enthusiastic, and everybody was glad that we had invited them. Didn't you think it went well, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely. Even Southern Environmental
Yeah.
said it was a good meeting.
Yeah. And so our next meeting is on.
Now, that's just unbelievable.
Our next meeting's on July 13th, and we're going to have a meeting then, and we'll start getting into some of the detail on the various hot spots. And at the conclusion of that meeting, we're going to take a bus trip and take them down on Hatteras Island and let them see the hot spots, get out of the van, if you will, and look and see that you can throw a rock across from one place to the other. So we're off to a good start. We hope we maintain that momentum going forward. Then the last thing I have, and I had an email that I can't find. As most of you may have known, or maybe you don't, or read, there was a bad fire in Kill Devil Hills last night, and it burned a house, all the way to the ground. I mean, a big house, a 16-bedroom house. Yeah. And the firefighters from all of the communities collaborated in that, the fire marshal, and did a remarkable job to keep the fire to that house. It did damage some surrounding houses, but it totally destroyed that house. There was no loss of life. Everybody got out. That house had around 40 people in it, and there were more than that were displaced from the adjoining houses. And I bring that up, one, to commend the firefighters and their great work, but even more so, Drew and James and his team at Emergency Management mustered at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday to start looking at a response to those 40 to 70 people that are now displaced, and everything they have, 40 of them, everything they had except what they had on was destroyed. Their cars were damaged. They were there. They worked and hooked up with Tim and Charlotte over at the youth center, the rec park in Kill Devil Hills, and we opened that up and turned it into a shelter for those people. We brought in Red Cross. We brought in food. We fed them. We did all those things. Sheila and her team and DSS were involved to try to figure out what their needs were. Those needs were met. We even brought vans in and transported some of the people that needed to the airport in Norfolk so they could get rental cars to drive home or fly out or whatever they wanted to do, but we got them where they needed to be. And by 1 o'clock or so, we had everybody taken care of, and the people that needed help had gotten the help, and everybody was on their way home safely, which was a fantastic outcome. And so our crew, as normal, did a remarkable job all the way down the line, did what we needed to do, and as Drew had said, there's 50 or 60 people that hated to have a catastrophe like that, but because they had a catastrophe like that, they are so glad it happened in Dare County because we know how to take care of them, and we treated them like family and took care of them. So I want to commend all the folks that were involved in that for a job well done.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I want to piggyback on that with when the water issue down there in Avon, there was no loss of fire coverage down there as well. I was running around checking things out. The phone was ringing pretty hard, and there were some upset visitors and stuff. But stuff like that happens. But my point being, when I went into Avon Village, there was Roanoke Island Volunteer Fire Department backed up in Avon's parking lot.
Incredible.
Yeah, the fire marshal gave him a shout out.
Yeah, thank you.
And it wasn't just Roanoke. I know I'm leaving somebody out, but it was our VFDs worked together well.
Absolutely.
Thank
you. Is that it, County?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Public Information Officer, Ms. Hester. I see this up here, and I'm sure you're getting ready.
We're talking about
for
emergency
sale.
management at 7 o'clock, about 15 minutes ago. Drew Pearson, our emergency management director, he is hosting a forum, a hurricane preparedness forum with the Weather Service. So they've got close to 90 people. Most of those are virtual, about 10 of those in person at the EOC, but that's a great opportunity. I was going to head out there, but I won't make it tonight. It's about an hour long. But I did give you all the updated hurricane guide. Just 24 hours ago, we had a tropical storm warning.
Yep.
Thankfully, just rain, and I hope that all the storms that come close to us this year will treat us as well as Claudette. But just ask you all to take a look. The ladies in PR worked really hard on this guide. Caitlin laid it out. It's longer, has more information. It is good information. It's also available online, darenc.com/EM, if anybody wants to check it out that way. And it's also a good opportunity to remind people to sign up for alerts, for emergency alerts through emergency management, because it's that time of year.
Yep.
So stay prepared.
Yep.
Thank
you so much, Dorothy. That's a great piece of information. Really well done. Thank you, Dorothy. Our Finance Director, Mr. Clausen, you have anything else for us this evening?
Just real quickly, the American Rescue Plan funds, we've received half. There's a lot of activity going on now, but it's mainly with cities and towns because they had a whole process that they had to go through, a registration process to start getting their money, which I think will happen first week of July. But the message I've gotten from 2 meetings I've attended is to wait and to see what the state's going to do with their money, which they're not going to do until after they adopt the state budget. So we're probably 3 or 4 weeks away from that. But to see where they're going to put their matches, there'll be state matching funds. For example, they've mentioned water, sewer, stormwater, affordable housing, and broadband, and how much is available and what those percentage matches are. So likely whatever you choose to use it for, you'll also get some state money as a match.
So by waiting, we can leverage our money further than, and one last thing, I made a mistake. I don't know if Dave probably wasn't aware that I made it, but in terms of pushing you all to make decisions at the last meeting, the December timeframe that we thought we had isn't December of this year. So we have time to wait to see what the state is. We're not crunched to try to have things under contract by December of 2021. So we're in good shape.
Good deal. Well, thank you, guys. Well, that brings us to the last item on the agenda. We only have one meeting in the month of July, which is typical, and that's July the 19th. So I need a motion to adjourn until 5 p.m. on July the 19th.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner House. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobin and Bateman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.